Announcements made by both Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the US President Donald Trump. I want to quickly bring in Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow at the Observer Research Foundation. In a moment, we'll also be joined by Kamaljeet Kaur Sandhu. Sushant, $3 billion worth helicopter deal, both Apaches and the MH-60 Romeos. In your appreciation, what's that big takeaway from the joint presser, joint announcements?
So Gaurav, I think much of what has been said in the joint announcements was expected. The defense deal is important, it's good, but I don't think that's the biggest takeaway. I think the biggest takeaway to my mind, I don't know what exactly are the building blocks, but when Trump says that they are revitalizing the Quad initiative, are we going to see this develop from just meetings to a much more structured, organized kind of a forum? And then, where does that go? And for Mr. Modi to talk about the comprehensive global strategic partnership and discussing every aspect of it, I think that, to my mind, were two big takeaways. The other was the reaffirmation of both sides on the Indo-Pacific strategy. Now, clearly, the Quad also fits into that entire Indo-Pacific strategy, which we have been talking about. But again, we are not very clear about what kind of structures we are going to go into. I hope they have spoken about that. The rest is, of course, pretty much par for the course. The energy transactions, that has been happening over the last 3 or 4 years. Trump himself said that in the last 4 years, we've increased our energy exports by 500%. And these are likely to go up, which is also important for us because we need to diversify from where we are getting our energy supplies.
Oh, absolutely.
And if that, binds us even closer into a closer relationship with the Americans, so much the better for it.
And
so
Ambassador,
I think, those
Ambassador
are
Tripathi?
in some ways the big takeaways. Of course, the trade deal has been there.
Yes.
And from what has been said.
Yeah, Ambassador Tripathi, in your appreciation, quick takeaways, the most important aspect that the two leaders spoke of.
Well, the two things. One is the comprehensive global strategic partnership. Earlier it was comprehensive strategic partnership. Now, including the word global, I think its scope has been broadened and it has been more intensified. Secondly, energy deals. Thirdly, the defense deals. And energy, I understand that there is a deal to import natural gas in cryogenic form from USA to India, so that the cost and the risk are reduced.
Yes.
And then I think that both sides have agreed that yes, they have identified and they will be now starting negotiations on bigger trade deal on a bigger
So the relationship is now being taken altogether to a new level, a new high.
Yes.
I want to quickly bring in Kamaljeet Kaur Sandhu joining us live for more on this. Kamal, revitalizing Quad, that's a big signal that's being sent out, ensuring Indo-Pacific and Quad and Indo-Pacific fall in line simultaneously.
Well, absolutely, Gaurav. After the soft diplomacy, today was a day for a hard negotiation. And as Donald Trump mentioned that as far as Prime Minister Narendra Modi is concerned, there were hard negotiations taking place. And that is why the timing of it also was delayed. So Quad, 5G, commerce dealing, giving a legal shape to it, all of it became very, very prominent. But what are the big takeaways? Again, there was a reiteration as well as Prime Minister Narendra Modi is concerned, President Donald Trump is concerned, because they again mentioned the trade deal. Now, what is that trade deal remains a big question mark, but a big takeaway for Donald Trump is a $13 billion defense deal, the Apache as well as the Romeo helicopters. But clearly, what are the gains for India is the big question. Now, remember, the joint statement did address the issue of terrorism emanating from Pakistan, which remains a key concern for India. Clearly, there were deals regarding health sector, regarding agriculture, regarding commerce, the dealing in telecom sector. So very, very clearly, big points out there. But the big takeaway is, what is that trade deal and what does India really take away from this?
Okay, the $3 billion helicopter deal, both for Apaches and for the MH-60 Romeos. Sushant Sareen, the US president also raised the issue, Donald Trump raised the issue of 5G, said it should be, in his appreciation, a tool for freedom and progress, not
Exactly.
conduit for censorship. A very clear indication India needs to be careful with Huawei.
Absolutely, but I don't think there's any illusion in India that we need to be extremely careful on how we go in for the 5G network. And I think while the Americans have come out openly, against the Huawei kind of a network, in their country, they banned it. And frankly, if although we've allowed the Huawei people to do trials out here, I would be extremely spooked and would be extremely nervous if the Chinese were to be given any part of the 5G networks in India. Because the scope, that's virtually opening yourself up to a country which has proven itself to be not just an adversary, but positively hostile to us on a range of issues of a core interest to us, whether it's on Kashmir, whether it's on Pakistan, you name it, and the Chinese have acted with such thinly disguised hostility that it's not even, it's crazy the way they've been going about it. So for us to then open ourselves up to a 5G network provided by a Chinese company closely linked with the PLA, I think that's simply not on. But apart from the 5G network, and that is extremely important, because if we are talking about, Prime Minister Modi mentioned interoperability and all of that, if we are going to go ahead with this strategic partnership will be stillborn if our communication networks are going to be controlled by the Chinese.
Absolutely. There's breaking news coming in. Stay